putting them out there and getting them tested with the real users. There might be average consumers or game players, like in my case. If you have an expert system, there might be experts in the field, medical diagnostics, or with GE we had what they call black belts, technicians at General Electric's diagnostic center using the system. We want real users to use it because that's how we know that the research actually works. So for gaming, we built a site called Make Me Play Me. Me is a mind engine. We didn't call it an AI for average people, we called it mind engines. It's a social gaming experience where the task is to come in and create AIs to play these games. So this is kind of what the site looks like. Down at the bottom are different games. I think there are about 4 or 5 games now. And again, this is all public domain. If you want to actually go play with Make Me Play Me, you want to add new games to it or try different AI techniques with it, it's all available on SourceForge. I'll give you the link in a second. So these are the 3 games I showed you. This is the board game of Risk. We also have a Pac-Man-like game. I think Pac-Man is currently down. And then on the right here is a leaderboard, just like in any gaming site. But it's not a leaderboard of people, it's a leaderboard of AIs. So this is, Santi's AI, which he's called Longpath, is currently the best AI in the system. And your job is to go and create an AI and challenge your friends to beat it, or to create an AI to beat it. So it's really about creating AIs, empowering players to create their own AIs. Sites at makemeplayme.com. Second Mind is also available. It's at secondmind.org. You can go into Second Mind. It's already connected to Second Life. You will need a Second Life account. You can go create an avatar. You can program behaviors for it, and then you can watch your avatar do its thing, or you can go to sleep and wake up next morning and avatar will come tell you, hey, guess what happened while you were asleep. And it behaves in your style, and that was the whole idea. This is the SourceForge link if you want interested in using the system or extending it in any way. So in summary, the work that I've been doing has been pushing towards this notion of user-generated AI, enabling people to create AIs using different technologies, but without programming and without explicit knowledge of AI. I've talked about, and kind of our mantra is we want to build a mind without programming. I've talked about these 3 types of approaches. Give people the ability to edit their behaviors they want, have the system fix the behaviors automatically, and then most recently give people the ability to demonstrate a behavior and the system kind of write their own code, in this case through Petri nets, in a kind of automatic programming style. So I'll talk a little bit about current projects. I'm very focused on this. I love this picture. It really, I look at this and I say these are all areas where AI can have massive impact. There are millions of people who use these types of technologies, and there's very little AI out there in that. People looking for thesis topics, you can almost close your eyes and pin the tail on the donkey and you'll hit a thesis topic, any of these areas. So we have Mind Engines. This project is somewhat coming to a close. Santi Ontanion, who was my postdoc, is continuing this work in Spain as well, and there's a couple of projects in my lab in this area. And I talked about Second Mind again. Manish Mehta is graduating and have some nice continuing kind of new research to be done in this area as well. This is a project that we don't have any papers on yet. It's funded by DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency in the US. This is a project to allow people to create interactive stories. So the idea is, if you go if you look at a motion comic, for example, from Marvel Comics, or you go into a short movie clip from Disney, why should it take teams of expert media designers and programmers at Disney to create an interactive clip? Why couldn't you go in, or my kid go in, and write a little vignette of what happens in Toy Story 5, or what adventures do the Incredibles go on next? You should all be able to create these things. And so we're creating this, the latest version, we are looking at comic or graphic novels. So you can go in, create some characters, and the system will help you write a storyline, and then through completely automated means, it will create an animation or a comic strip for you, using technology called Cambot, which is developed by my colleague Mark Riddell. That's how you spell his name. Cambot is kind of an automated movie director. If you give it a movie script, it'll actually create the whole set and the animations for you, and it'll even decide the camera angles and everything automatically. So we should have, hopefully over the next year, we'll actually have a working system. We have a system we can use in the lab right now, but it's not out on the web yet for everyone to try. And then open study, just mention this briefly. The idea here is to create these massively multiplayer online study groups. If you go into one of these groups like math or computer science, you can see hundreds of people studying, you can ask questions, you can help each other. And what's interesting is, this is kind of the MMO part. As you do this, you earn medals, you get fans, you achieve levels. And so this person over here, this is actually a student in an art school who's become a math, lifesaver. This guy over here has become a star and actually has worked up the courage to go take an MIT course by himself. He's not at MIT. And so again, the idea is to engage students in studying. If anyone would like to try this with yourselves or your students, it's free, you can go online and start interacting. And just to kind of give you a quick snapshot of where we are, we've been live for about 9 months. We have partnerships with all these different universities and other online help sites. About 50,000 users now, about 500 have become superheroes in different topics. About 1,000 questions a day, of which 70% are getting answered within 5 minutes while you're still live on the site. So a lot of interactive teaching and again, earning of levels. It's not so much a question-answer site where it's like, not like Yahoo Answers where you ask a question, you go away, and a week later you make an answer. We have groups in pretty much every major domain that you like. Okay, so let me just end with kind of a vision for where all of this is going. I mentioned the puppeteers. The idea of creating these AIs is not new. In some sense, that's what puppeteers have been doing. The difference is we now have media to do it with. We don't do it with wooden dogs anymore, some of us do, but most of the world apparently has moved on. This is a screenshot from Paniva, which is another very popular online game. This Paniva is actually intended for developers, so if you actually want to use online software to build your own virtual worlds, Paniva is a very good choice, unlike Second Life, which is a closed platform. And what's happening now is we're going to embed AI in these characters. So when you go into a virtual world or any kind of game, a particular character might be powered by AI. And with drama management, we also have AI in the drama managers. The whole game is being orchestrated through AIs as well. We are now seeing this on pretty much every platform you can think of for kids. We're seeing it on mobile devices. We're seeing it even in real life with animatronic characters. If you walk into many of the Disney stores now, there are walking, talking animatronic characters that are powered by some of these types of AI technologies. And there's also this talk now of putting these characters out in the real world. You walk into Disneyland or maybe even downtown Trondheim, and maybe there'll be AI characters walking around. And so what I find interesting about this is that these AIs are now becoming part of our community. And I think it won't be very long before in our social networks, whether it's for studying or gaming or other things, some of the people we interact with will be AIs. There will be AIs on Facebook. And it's just not that hard now anymore. And that will enable us to answer the age-old question of the Turing test. Right? How will we tell who's human and who's a computer? This says, hey bird, ask if it has a favorite color. Okay, so I'll end there. That's my contact information. People want to connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email. And there's my website, with my papers on my website, and that's my Twitter. Thank you. Take questions. Yes?
So in the presentation you focus very much on the general audience. Have you also tried to contact game developers and see if they like these tools as well?
Yes, I have. I've actually met with the product manager of Sims at EA. I've met with other game developers, and so have my colleagues. By and large, they're not interested. And they're not interested for a couple of reasons. They will hire my students. So Manu Sharma, who did the drama management work, now works on the Sims 3 team. He tells me, I can't tell you what techniques we're using because they're all under non-disclosure, but you wouldn't be surprised at any of that. And so they're using our techniques. They're not that interested because of two things. One is that there's a very practical, there are two practical constraints. One is they're typically under very short timelines to deliver games. They have a $4 million project with a 10-month delivery date, and they don't want to try anything new. They don't want to fund research. They only spend an hour with me on the phone because they have to be coding. The second reason is that there's still severe limitations on CPU. So in a typical game, 80 to 90% of the CPU cycles are devoted to graphics. And so whatever we do, all this kind of meta reasoning, etc., is, although great by our standards and works on a website where you have the kind of the time to interact with Second Mind, or Second Life, in a real-time strategy game, it still takes more than 10% of your CPU to chuck through hierarchical plans, for example. And that is getting a little bit better. There's some really interesting work now on using the GPU, the graphic processing unit, even for actually regular computation, not just for games, but especially for games. I think more CPUs getting freed up. There's some of the folks, if you go to if you're interested in this, the conference to go to is called AIDE, AIIDE, Artificial Intelligence and Interactive Digital Entertainment. Actually, Mark Riddell, who I mentioned, is chairing it this year. They have about a third of their audience is industry. And they present some pretty interesting AI stuff being done in industry, but it's very, very kind of specialized and tailored to particular games. So in short, I think they're interested in the concept. I don't think they're ready for it yet in terms of real implementation. It used to bother me. 4 or 5 years ago when I started working in this area, I would go there and get really frustrated that there's all this kind of cool stuff, why don't you want to use it? I'm now starting to think it doesn't matter that much. Because if you looked at the numbers in the beginning, the massive, massive market for games is not with these big giant game companies anymore. It's out on the open web, it's with people. I mean, Scratch is amazing to me. You have a community of kids between 10 and 16 years old. Between them, they've created millions of projects online, right? And so what's one World of Warcraft? When you have, right, or even, I think just like has happened with music and movies and so forth, I think the media, social media world is going to bypass the game industry if they don't wake up.
That's a very interesting comment because I have a friend who's trying to sell his AI engine to the games companies, and he has a hard time convincing them that why they should use this and why it's better than other things.
What do they tell him?
I don't know exactly, but that's, I mean, basically the ones he's talking to are basically using state machines, and he's trying to use more expressive, declarative ways of expressing the same things, but still with graphical user interface and so on. So, yeah.
So the other reason that the games companies are not interested, although some are changing, is that, again, it's traditionally the game designer. Let's assume you have infinite CPU. The game designer feels like he or she is typically a he in these companies, but he or she wants complete control over the game experience. And the thought that an AI may come in and think for itself and do something unexpected, the game experience will change.
Yes.
And it's not what I designed for. Again, that mindset is changing. I have a very nice ongoing project with Disney, with the R&D group. And I can't tell you a whole lot about the project because of NDA, but they're looking at kind of alternative reality gaming where the games get created and customized by the users as they play them. So you're in a game, you want the narrative to go in a particular way, we should let you do that. So the people are starting to look at those types of games, but I think that's not kind of the mainstream yet.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future. I'd love to talk to your friend with the game.
I will send him a link.
Yeah.